Welcome back to What's Next? Living Longer, Better, Smarter. In this episode, moving forward in the new year, we have some inspiring health tips and more. This edition is made possible by GoGoGrandparent, groceries, meals, and ride services for older adults and those with disabilities, with a focus on safety and comfort. Learn more at getgogograndparent.com. I'm Fred Fishkin, along with Mary Furlong. Hi, Mary.
Hi, Fred. Here we are into the new year, and it seems to be flying by already. We want to say right at the top that our hearts, minds, and prayers are with all of our friends and colleagues and relatives who have so tragically been affected by the fires in and around Los Angeles. And I want to say that ASA and US Aging and Leading Age and ARP and many others have reached out to provide resources for older adults.
It really has been heartbreaking. Mary, one of the goals for me and so many others is to get healthier this year.
I think that's a goal for pretty much everyone. And we're starting off with a really great guest, one of our favorites.
Dr. Michael Roizen is a best-selling author, columnist, and chief wellness officer emeritus at the Cleveland Clinic. And I should add, a friend who we are happy to welcome back to the podcast.
How are you, Fred? It's great to be here. Thank you and Mary for having me back again.
It's wonderful to see you, Dr. Mike. You always inspire us.
Oh, isn't that nice? Thank you.
That's true. We still love your latest book, The Great Age Reboot. So let's talk about the whole idea of trying to start the new year off on the right foot. There are lots of reasons to do that.
Yeah, the key reason is a lot of people make New Year's resolutions, and by February, I believe 70% of them have dropped all of the resolutions. But the goal is to change your habits with the new year so you can get healthy. You know, in the Great Age Reboot, we predict with an 80% probability that you're going to be able to actually turn back time. That's because of the 14 areas of research into the mechanism of aging that have all done that in at least 2 animal species and are advancing in humans. That is, in human testing. But in order to get that benefit, you're going to have to stay healthy. So to be able to get younger, you're going to have to stay as young as possible. And it's really doable. So we say pick 3 things you want to do in the new year and that you can do. You know, it can be as simple as taking 4 smells a day, inhaling deeply those 4 smells, or doing inspiratory resistance training for 10 breaths a day. Just simple things like that make a huge difference. And then pick out one that is reasonably a challenge for you, but that you want to try and do. So we say pick 3 things and make sure that you're able to do them.
That's really exciting. And, you know, you've developed the real age concept. I'll let you talk a little bit about that, and had 5 top best-selling books. And I think you don't mind me saying, at 78, you're looking great. So tell everyone about your daily routine and what this real age concept is.
Well, let me just correct you. We've had 9 best-selling books, 4 number ones, so
sorry.
9 top 10. So I'm proud of that, obviously. My daily routine is I get up and after the usual thing, go and have coffee and start my, if you will, a supplement routine. But I'm on a treadmill most of the day when I'm not seeing patients. So I'll show you that. This is a walking treadmill or a treadmill desk that I do most of my reading and writing on. So you can see I'm walking now. I'm going to turn that off because it makes some noise. Then I eat my first meal of the day. I have a lot of cups of coffee beforehand, but I eat my first meal of the day around 11:30, and it's usually a salmon burger and a green vegetable that has been sautéed in olive oil. And so my goal is to get 4 grams of leucine every 4 hours during the day. I start off the day then with 2 salmon burgers, which gives me 4 grams of leucine. The you could have 10 egg whites if you wanted. An egg white omelet with 10 egg whites would do the same thing, as would 100 grams of pea protein. But in any case, that's how I start the day. My supplements include a multivitamin and some small molecules that help prevent disease, such as a statin, rosuvastatin, and coenzyme Q10. I started those before I had a high cholesterol level, and we now aim for a cholesterol level lower than mine was, but that wasn't at the time when I started it. So I started it about 30 years ago, 28 years ago, at age 50. And now we shoot for a LDL, or an apolipoprotein B, of 70 or less, unless you have, and there's some personalization, unless you have a high LPA level. Forgetting that, the rest of the day is exercise, reading, doing the supplements, and in the evening I will, before I'll quit eating 3 hours before bedtime, but before I do that, I'll have again 4 hours around 3:30. I'll have a snack which has a bunch of leucine in it, and then at dinner I'll finish by usually 7:30 and go to bed at 10:30. So it's relatively plain. Yes, I do have a normal blood pressure and what we call 6 normals+2. I will smell 4 different smells intensively during the day, such as coffee and alcohol, the alcohol swab, usually lavender and onions or garlic, and I'll take a deep smell of all those. And then I get to do what I love doing. On Saturdays and Sundays, I make a real effort to do Wednesday nights and Saturdays and Sundays. I do all 4 activities, and I didn't mention that before I get in the car, I do 20 jumps on a hard surface right at the car surface, and then when I get home at night, I do another 20 jumps to get the bone building effect of jumping. And I'll do all 4 exercises, as I said, on Saturday and Sunday. And the other thing I do on Saturday and Sunday is I will call at least 4 friends to increase the contacts I have, in addition to my wife and the friends I see every day. So, and I get to do my passion, which is write about and help people like this. So thank you for letting me do it. Live younger, longer. So that's my passion, and if you will, it's to help end preventable disease.
You
So I
still
get to
playing
do.
some ping pong?
I We play ping pong on Saturdays. Yes, one of my friends, a elder statesman who is a great athlete. He went to Michigan State on a basketball scholarship. Albert Ratner, and he was 96. He'll be 97 December 26th. He and I play a game of ping pong on Saturdays. That's right. And my wife and I, we have a little pickleball court we can set up in the driveway, and when it's decent weather in Cleveland, which is most of the year, I mean, it isn't it probably will get too cold in December, January, February, and March, but other than that, for 8 months of the year, we'll play a little pickleball. And
Yeah,
the goal is in sports that make you turn, and we don't know why, whether and tennis is and badminton and squash and racquetball are the epitome of it before the pickleball and ping pong crazes that have come in. they actually decrease dementia risk. So those are fun to do. And so that's why we say it's posse, those 6 friends a week, 6 friends a month, passion, which is what I'm getting to do now, and play.
We live by that mantra of purpose, play, and posse, right?
That's correct.
Yes.
I say it the other way around: posse, purpose, and play. That's right.
I really like that advice about calling friends on the weekend, because it's so many people text these days, and I think just reaching out, you can hear more in someone's voice, and it's a great way to stay connected. So tell us, what advice do you have for everyone, especially older adults, about flu season? And we still have to worry about COVID too.
The basics of flu season is to be as healthy as possible. And before you get a flu shot, which we think you should get, take a multivitamin for at least 3 days. It increases the take rate, and get plenty of sleep beforehand. So I had my flu shot. I'm over the age of 65, so I get the extra strong one. I will probably get a Novavax COVID booster. Novavax is the classic vaccine manufacturer type, because the COVID seems to have peaks in both July and late July and August, and in January and February. Vaccines have been probably the most important thing at decreasing childhood diseases. And the COVID and the flu are both very inflammatory conditions. So we know that getting the flu shot 10 years in a row and avoiding the flu for those 10 years, or even getting the shots, even if you get a lesser case of the flu, decreases heart disease and stroke and death rates by about 25%. And the reason is because the flu is so inflammatory that it causes plaque breakoff in your arteries, and heart attacks and strokes. So really important from the flu shot standpoint, to keep getting it every year. Um, COVID-19 tends to be even more inflammatory, and probably a greater risk of long-term brain dysfunction. The viral particles in long COVID associate in the same places as the Spanish flu particles did in the 1917 to 19s. That's in the basal ganglia, and that increases the risk from the Spanish flu anyway, of Parkinson's disease. That was the major cause of Parkinson's disease in the 50s and 60s. So we're afraid that long COVID will do something like that. So it's probably good to keep your immunity up to prevent that. I wouldn't probably, the people say, should we get it under the age of 50, or if you don't have chronic diseases? And the answer is we don't have long enough data to say whether you're going to be preventing something like Parkinson's disease in a significant number of people. In all vaccines, they are relatively safe, but not absolutely safe. So, for example, the childhood vaccines, 40,000 to 1 ratio of benefit to risk. It's like putting $1 down and getting 40,000 back, or losing the dollar. You hate to lose the dollar, but you're going to do that sometimes. The COVID, at least for the over 50 and those with a chronic disease, it's probably at least 150 to 1 benefit to risk. We don't know the risk ratio under 50 very well.
I'm sure it can be dismaying to someone like you who's so serious about the science and all that you do in medicine, to see sometimes the political realm entering into the fray here, when science and medicine really shouldn't have anything to do with that stuff, I suppose.
The answer is yes, but And the but is, the vaccine skeptics made the vaccines much safer from the 90s to the 2010s, meaning they forced safety to be a major concern of vaccine production and type. And so the criticism isn't without a benefit. You don't want people to not get the vaccines, but by criticism and by saying, let's do better, we have actually done better scientifically. So, yes, Fred, it's a very, how do I say it? The vaccine skeptics worry me. And clearly, the childhood vaccines are so well established that not getting those, I actually think of as not a rational decision a parent can make. But again, pushing science to do better is a good thing.
Absolutely. For many years, we should point out, you've worked closely on books and newspaper columns with Dr. Oz, who's being nominated to head up Medicare and Medicaid and more in the incoming administration. Tell us what your hopes are. You know him so well about what maybe he can accomplish if confirmed.
Well, let me just say, the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Atlantic, Newsmax, all of it, MSNBC, CBS, every channel has done stories on him, right? And not one has called me, even though I worked with him for 20 hours a week, in producing over 13 books, 20 hours a week for 10 years. And we've written over 6,000 columns together and still write as of the time we're recording this, and until he's confirmed, we'll still write a column that's syndicated to over 60 newspapers together, 6 days a week. It's a 6-day a week column. So
Well,
I know
I'm
him.
honored that we're the ones going to the source here then.
So that's right. You're going to the source. So and the point is, he is the most innovative person I've seen, the quickest learner, the most intent and diligent, and he demands scientific rigor. So whether it was from the people on the show, etc., he gets criticism for the show, but he was very careful to be asking people questions, not endorsing, and to, yes, even for the coffee bean story, he was asking, what is the data? He wasn't endorsing coffee beans. And it turns out he was right on the coffee bean as a very good treatment for ADHD in subsequent studies that have come out. But in any case, he got a lot of criticism for it. He is scientifically rigorous. And I know of no one who works harder than he does and demands it of others. So I look at it as this is a really good thing. My guess is that his associates, the directors of each of the CMS divisions, will learn how hard he works and how much they have to work to be there, and probably won't be political appointees, but will be hard science and hard administrative appointees. Um,
Interesting.
the
Go
second, let
ahead.
me keep going on if I can.
Sure.
So I just want to say his goal with me has been all along the same goal as the Global Wellness Summit, and we launched this program together at the Global Wellness Summit, which is to end preventable disease. And if there's a way he can structure the wellness visits in Medicare, obviously he'll need Congress's help to do an incentive program to incent people to get healthy and be responsible for getting their health to be as healthy as possible. He will probably do that. And, when we did that at the Cleveland Clinic, we saved 38% of our costs without a change in benefit and rewarded the employees with the maximum rebates allowable under the law, which is still the Obamacare law for rebates to employees on premiums. So that I have a strong belief that he will be as good as possible for that goal of making America healthy again.
And if we make America healthy again, it's could solve, from the way you describe it, some of the budgetary issues involving Medicare.
Yeah, if everyone in Medicare and Medicaid got the same incentive program as we have at the Cleveland Clinic, and it was the same participation, it's voluntary, so it's about 74% participation, about 45% achieve what we call six normals plus two. It would save the federal government approaching a little over 600 billion a year, or 6 trillion in a 10-year period, a huge slice towards budget neutrality. But even greater than that, it allows people to be healthy longer, so they're productive and working longer. I'm still paying into Social Security. You and Mary are probably too, and so we're still paying taxes, I'll bet. And I know I am, and so that actually helps balance the budget and would balance the budget totally.
One other news topic that we wanted to touch on: the current administration is proposing that Medicare and Medicaid cover drugs like Wegovy, Ozempic, and these weight loss drugs for millions of people who are on those programs. Your thoughts?
Well, the direct effects of obesity in diabetes, hypertension, osteoarthritis, six cancers, heart disease, stroke, kidney disease is estimated at 650 billion a year. So the National Health Service in Great Britain has made these drugs available. Now, what do they cost them? They cost $40 a month. So you know that Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly are not selling them to the UK at a loss. Why are they $448 a month wholesale and $440 a month wholesale in the US? There's something that needs to be corrected with the system. But if we got them down to $40 a month and made them available to everyone who wanted them, needed them, and was indicated for them, we could save a huge part of that 600 billion and let people, it would expand life expectancy. That one set of drugs taken would expand life expectancy in the US by about 6 years for everyone. That is, looking at all life expectancy. Now, there's a couple caveats. You've got to do physical activity that is, you got to do muscle building activity, or else those drugs, they both semaglutide and tirzepatide, or Wegovy and Zepbound, Mounjaro, and Ozempic, cause muscle loss disproportionately to fat loss. So you've got to do the exercises and the strength building. Now, one more caveat. One of the revolutions, we're seeing the AI revolution, well, you're also seeing a biologic revolution. We wrote of that in the Great Age Reboot about the 14 areas of aging. Well, one of those is decreasing obesity without the muscle loss. And there's a drug called HU6 in phase 2 testing through the FDA that does exactly that. It increases metabolic rate and increases, or at least doesn't decrease, muscle mass. Maybe there's more on the horizon that we'll get to see in addition to the GLP and GIPs.
Wow, that's exciting. You've been such an advocate for getting healthier and living healthier, and perhaps that will be a big thrust in the new administration.
I'm hoping that the "Make America Healthy Again" is not just a slogan, but is actually done for all of us.
I like your slogan, Dr. Mike. Eat foods that love you back.
Yes, so that's right. Food is a relationship. You wouldn't marry someone who is trying to kill you. You shouldn't eat food that's trying to kill you every day. So you want, and there are plenty of foods. As you heard, I eat salmon and leafy greens, avocados, There are tons of food, walnuts, there are tons of food, that olive oil that are healthy for you, coffee, blueberries that love your body back, that taste great and that you can enjoy.
I have to say, since I met you 2 years ago, I have all those foods in my kitchen and do try them each day. Let's tell everyone how they can follow your work and maybe what's next for you.
So the our website is longevityplaybook.com. There's a free newsletter. Roughly 200,000 people take it. It's a weekly newsletter, and there's an open rate of about 63%, which is amazing. But I think that's due to the fact there's a cartoon with it that's kind of funny. The So they can go and sign up for the free newsletter sometime in the near future. We have an AI coaching program that we're testing now that'll be available. It'll be a subscription, so that it won't be free, but you'll pay by the hour of talking to our AI nurse, which is getting me in a anytime you want me, and it'll either be you can get someone who is if you will, a slave driver and works you hard, or someone who is very empathetic, and there's an intermediate person as well, and speaks 44 languages, so you can talk to it in any language. But that's what we think is coming, assuming we can get a few bugs out of it that are there now.
Dr. Mike is an AI. The singularity is coming.
That's
Uh,
right. You'll be able to get me anytime, day or night, and the coaching team through the AI, which literally will have every, you know, when AI first hit the scene about a year and a half ago, the Atlantic listed the 100 authors that were copied most into AI, and I felt pretty proud. Our books were listed as one of those. So ChatGPT and a whole bunch of other AI systems have our stuff. But this will be me directly, and our coaching program is to help you navigate to health.
and you're a great coach. So thank you so much for joining us.
You're wonderful for doing this and letting me share my passion of helping people live longer, younger. So thank you.
Really appreciate Dr. Mike's enthusiasm for helping us all get healthier. On that front, there has been some exciting news from the Luxembourg Institute of Health, where researchers have made progress on detecting diabetes just by analyzing your voice. For my Textination site, I spoke with lead researcher and head of the Department of Precision Health, Dr. Guy Fagarazzi.
Voice is a very powerful source of information when you know how to analyze and how to extract information. When you have a disease, when you have a symptom, this will have an impact on how your voice is produced. And sometimes it's very subtle, so small changes in your voice. But now with all the technologies we have, the development of AI, we can extract thousands and thousands of variables, information that we can use to feed AI models and detect whether you have a condition like diabetes, but also mental health, respiratory diseases, Parkinson's disease. There are many applications in development for this new technology.
That is so exciting. So describe for us in a bit more detail, perhaps, how this works and the role of AI. Kind of step us through here.
It's very simple. When we start by recording the voice of patients with the disease of interest. Here it's type 2 diabetes, and we record people without the disease with the same voice recording task. And in that particular case, it was reading a pre-specified text for like 25 to 30 seconds. And from this structured information, we extract thousands and thousands of information that we pre-process, we analyze, and we feed to AI model to predict whether this voice is coming from a person with diabetes or with no diabetes. And we managed to train AI models with an accuracy, a precision of roughly 75%, meaning in 3 out of 4 times we managed to classify correctly whether the person has or does not have type 2 diabetes.
And how do we improve that statistic? Is it just through more sampling?
More sampling will definitely help for sure. But what we need to understand is the objective at the end is to develop a screening solution for diabetes. It will never replace a diagnosis of type 2 diabetes because that's not the objective, and voice is not specific enough to replace one day a typical blood measurement of your HbA1c or your glycemic levels. That's not the objective at all. We will never replace this. This will always remain the official diagnosis method. On the other hand, there is a huge undiagnosed cases population in the diabetes population worldwide. When you look right now, it's about 800 million of people living with diabetes in the world at the moment, and half of them, they ignore they have the disease because they have not been diagnosed properly. So there is a huge challenge to reduce this number, and we need to change the way we screen for diabetes. And voice-based solutions, like the one we are developing right now, could help for the screening part. So we want to maximize this number to get better and better with more sampling, of course, but we will never reach 95, 98, or even 100% of accuracy. This will never be the case, and it's not the objective. But we want to be as better as good as possible.
So the many people, maybe 400 million or so, who are undiagnosed, this could help in perhaps 3/4 of the cases in being able to say you should be screened further. You likely have diabetes.
Exactly, that's the objective, because right now the way the screening solutions are implemented, it's either based on questionnaires that are quite boring or difficult to fill in, or with lab measurements. And in some settings, it's very difficult because you don't have access to a proper healthcare system or labs close to where you live. So there is a need to have more scalable solutions, and the one we develop right now could be deployed very easily on everyone's smartphones. And you could have this as a first line screening solution. And if you have a high risk detected by your voice analysis, then you could be referred to going to a proper lab, to going to your GP or to the hospital.
So is the goal then to create an app that would be available that people could use, and it would tell them that they likely have?
That's one way to implement this technology and this algorithm we are developing right now, an app that could be on everyone's smartphone, yes, for sure. It can also be implemented in call centers, for instance. It can be implemented in telemonitoring or telehealth solutions in the future. There are many ways to record voice in the real life. And as soon as you can access to voice recordings from the population, you could imagine having this solution integrated as well.
And unlike waiting for blood work lab results to come back, you know
Exactly.
quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the idea.
And I understand there are other diseases that this technology can be used for, perhaps.
Yes.
Tell me about it.
I think like 30 years ago, this started with the field of research in neurological disorders like Parkinson's disease. Even 30 years ago, on the landline phone, the clinicians were calling their patients to listen to their voice as a way to assess disease progression, whether Parkinson's disease has evolved over time. Right now, we have much more an easier access to voice recordings because we have smartphones, we have new technologies, and we have AI. So that means we can imagine deploying this technology to many other outcomes than Parkinson's disease. Parkinson's, it's obvious because when you have this neurodegeneration, there is a direct impact on how your voice is produced and how you sound. But in other diseases like respiratory diseases, asthma, COPD, mental health, depression, for instance, you have a direct impact on your voice production. And now, with the technologies at our disposal, we can capture these subtle changes. So the applications are very diverse in all research fields. You can also track symptoms, for instance, like fatigue, pain, distress, stress, anxiety. All of these dimensions are somewhat reflected in your voice.
Interesting. Now, all of us have friends and loved ones, and we were on the phone with them or something. speaking with them in person, and you hear something in their voice and you say, "What's wrong? There's something wrong." I guess we're processing what we're hearing too in the same way in some respects that AI does.
Exactly. That was the starting point, actually. When you have someone on the phone that you know, and you can detect some changes, this usually indicates changes in their mental health, their mental fitness, their fatigue, their emotions. And now we want to objectivize this, basically. We want to have, there are two lines of research in the field of voice AI and vocal biomarkers, either relying on a one-shot recording. You have a voice recording from someone you don't know, and you try to predict whether he or she has a disease or a symptom. So that's one way. The second aspect is for monitoring patients, for instance, where you would have regularly several voice recordings over time, and you look at the evolution of voice features, voice characteristics in the same patient. The patient is his own control, basically. And this is exactly the same situation as when you call someone you know. You have previous recordings in your mind, you know how this person is supposed to sound, and you detect differences. And this indicates usually that there is something wrong.
Sort of like a baseline ECG.
Exactly. Exactly. That's the idea.
So I understand that you have been working with people online who can contribute their voices to help with this research. Tell us about that.
Yes. All of this research is based on the huge investment to collect voice all over the world. This is a study called Co-Live Voice, where basically people, they don't need to have any specific disease. We are targeting health in general, not just a specific disease like diabetes. They can donate their voice for research. You have the colivoice.org website. You can click on I want to participate. You have the consent form, a few questions about your health status, the disease you have, the drugs you may use, and some questionnaires. And at the end, you have very cool voice recordings to perform. And this is the basis for our research. Then we use the recordings and the information you have shared with us to develop these new technologies.
When you're unwell, it can affect certain organs. Being unwell can affect your voice because all these organs are involved in producing the sound. Therefore, signals from your voice can predict symptoms. These are called vocal biomarkers. In future, identifying vocal biomarkers will allow doctors to treat disease more effectively. 50-year-old Jack has type 1 diabetes, which requires him to use an insulin pump to manage his condition. Managing his condition causes him to suffer with anxiety and depression. Jack's doctor refers him to a psychologist. He monitors Jack's mental health by getting him to make a weekly voice recording on the smartwatch app Jack already uses to monitor his blood glucose. To help people like Jack, we're creating a multilingual voice database. First, we need to make recordings so we can process and analyze the voice. Next, we extract thousands of audio features from the recording. We also convert it into a spectrogram. These are then fed into AI models to predict whether the individual has a certain symptom or disease. This involves collecting voice recordings and data through a survey on the Co-Live Voices app. Anyone over the age of 15, regardless of health status, can participate. All you need to do is answer a health questionnaire and provide 5 short voice recordings. Participation is anonymous. The more diverse the data, the more inclusive the digital health solution will be. We need data from males and females of all ages who speak different languages with different accents. Donate your voice and share this video with your friends and family today.
And how important is it to get large numbers of people involved here? From all over, right?
Yeah, as any research field using AI, the more the better, because we can cover all the situations if we have larger and more diverse samples and populations. With voice in particular, this is all the more important that when you have an older person, a younger person, a female, a male, according to the language, your accent you may have. All of these factors play a role, of course, in your voice production. So we need to cover all of these situations to be as universal as possible. That's why we need big numbers, and that's why we are always calling for more donations of voice and contribution to Call Voice.
Dr. Guy Fagarazzi, thank you so much for spending time with us, and congratulations on the work that you and your team are doing.
Thank you for having me.
It is so exciting to hear about this promising research, and it's interesting that anyone can sign up to donate their voice to help.
The site for that again is colivevoice.org. We want to thank Dr. Fagarazzi and congratulate him and the team at the Luxembourg Institute of Health. We're told it may not be long before the technology is widely available, so stay tuned. Keeping with our theme of moving forward in the new year, a company that really has been keeping older adults moving, GoGoGrandparent. Joining us is co-founder Justin Bugard. Welcome, Justin.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Justin, you are providing such an important mobility solution and service. Let's tell everyone more about what you're doing and how this all came about.
Well, thanks for the opportunity to share the origin story. In 2012, I moved in with my grandmother, Betty, in Los Angeles. She was 82 at the time. I was looking for, affordable rent. And my family thought it might be a good idea because we had just lost my grandfather. And so she got a new roommate. At first, we thought it would just be for a few months, and it turned into 3 years. And so over that time, just Grandma and I, we got a chance to, I would say, bond in a way that we hadn't before in my life up to that point. And then I was also working on a lot of different projects with my co-founder, David Lung. None of them were really working, but every evening on Sunday when she would make dinner, we would kind of I would tell her about what was going on. As I was finally preparing to leave the house, we had sort of seen over time that her comfort with driving herself was starting to decline, particularly at that time with driving at night or driving long distances. And so I had been, as I was her roommate, helping her get to certain places under those constraints. And when I was moving out, was a little bit worried about how she'd be able to do that on her own. And so it was actually at one of those Sunday dinners that she sort of casually suggested that maybe I need to stop working on stuff that isn't going anywhere and just make her a way to dial Uber from a phone call without needing to be using a smartphone app. And I had thought that was actually a pretty good idea. So my co-founder David and I ended up making that for her. We didn't tell her that we had made it for her because at this point we had suspected that she would probably just use it if she knew that we had done it for her out of cuteness, not out of need. And so we wanted to just see what would actually happen if she knew that this was available, but didn't know it was us that were behind it. So we gave her a phone number, told her it was a friend's company that was working on this problem, and waited. And a week went by, nothing happened. My co-founder David ended up writing her a letter from this fictional character that we had said was a friend and sent it to her. And the following Sunday, when I was back visiting and having dinner, she read me the letter and she was like, "Look at what came in." And it was very cute. And then we waited. Another week went by, nothing happened. And then finally, I got a call. It was a forwarding number that we had given her that came to me. I got a call. And it was Grandma, and she was asking about the cost of a ride. And then within a few days, that first trip happened. And we still didn't tell her that we had made it for her because we wanted to see if she would use it again, which is the mark of like a really good service. And in the end, we did tell her that we were behind it before she used it again. But it was because within a few days after her first use, a friend of hers, this woman named Edie, called us and asked for a ride. And I had never given Edie the number of this fictional company. The only person that could have was Grandma. So Grandma was so happy with the service the first time that she used it that she was telling her friends about it. Dave and I were jumping up and down. And eventually we told her. And right after we told her, she said, "This one's a winner, honey." She was stunned. And then she said, "This one's a winner." And so grandma's 93 today. She's turning 94 in March. She still uses GoGo every week. We've grown the service tremendously, not just in number of clients, but also number of services that we offer to people that might not be as technically savvy or might have impairments that impact their ability to use technology, like macular degeneration or arthritis in their hands, or just general, comfort in knowing that there's someone else watching over a ride. I can talk more about that, but that's how the service started. Thanks for letting me ramble on.
Step us through how somebody uses it.
Yeah, so today a client will call 855-GO-GO USA, 855-464-6872, and then they'll be greeted by our service. So it'll be press 1 to get picked up from your home, press 2 to get picked up where we dropped off last. You can press 0 to speak to a team member 24/7 that's able to order the service. Your very first time, we will ask you questions like, are you comfortable getting into a large vehicle or a small vehicle? Do you have a walker that the driver is going to need to fold into the trunk? Do you have a wheelchair that you're able to transfer from, but that you'll need some help getting into the car? Is there anything about your home that a driver should know about? Do you prefer getting picked up in the back because there's no steps back there? And then every time that you use us, your profile that you've built with us gets matched to whatever driver is assigned from Uber or Lyft, so that we can make sure that the vehicle that's coming out there is one that you're going to be able to get into. The driver is going to be comfortable waiting a few extra minutes if needed, if you're moving less quickly than you'd like. And we monitor the entire service experience from start to finish. You're able to call someone 24/7 if a problem arises on the trip, or we may call you if the driver is stuck in traffic and a few minutes behind, or if the driver's there but not able to find you. And so we are monitoring every service request that is coming through GoGo to make sure that it happens successfully. After a trip ends, we will make call and ask for you to review your ride, especially if it's a driver that is a first-time assignee of ours. And over millions of trips now, we've gotten really, really, really good at making sure that when you're requesting a service, it happens successfully, which is so important for our clients that might otherwise struggle with that. And so that's how it works behind the scenes.
So your partnerships seem to be a key here. So tell us about them and why going through GoGoGrandparent is safer, maybe more convenient, and I don't know what the cost aspects are.
Yeah. So GoGo provides help with transportation, prescription delivery, meal management and delivery, same with groceries. You can also request help with maintenance on your home, gardening, cleaning, but then also, furniture assembly, or helping pack, or even a personal assistant to go over paperwork if you need to organize files or something like that. So it's a pretty comprehensive service that touches on what the caregiving industry calls the instrumental activities of daily living. These are the 7 things that if a person can't do 2 of them, they might end up institutionalized, right? Typically within 6 months. And so GoGo focuses on offering a solution for each of those: transportation, meal management, grocery management, medication management, help with maintenance on your home, help with billing or finding discounts from other services, and then communicating with friends and family. Our service is a membership service, so it's $30 a month to get access to our lowest cost tier of these things. So you'd be paying the membership plus whatever services you're requesting. Most people, like to use rides as an example, most people take us for local trips. The median trip distance with GoGo is about 3.5 miles. The median cost for that trip is around $14. And so people typically find that these are fairly affordable means of private transportation, that when you compare that cost to the cost of moving into a assisted living community, are 1/1000th of what the alternative might be. And that because we're able to keep you getting to where you need to go every time, be that a critical medical appointment or even just to church on Sunday, that reliability is what keeps people staying with their GoGo membership. That monthly membership fee empowers what we call our GoGo Guardian team to be monitoring every service request. So I talked a little bit about how we filter out vehicles or screen drivers. But for meal delivery or grocery management, if you tell us that you're lactose intolerant and you're asking for Lactaid, when we partner with Instacart to make sure that that delivery comes to you, there's not going to be some alternative milk there that isn't exactly what you were expecting, because we know that for someone that's able to quickly jump out of the house and run down to the corner store to pick up milk, it's more of an annoyance when the wrong thing gets delivered. But for our clients that are lactose intolerant and need Lactaid milk, that specific brand in that specific quantity size, if the wrong thing comes, the alternative can be severe. And so our Guardian system is working with shoppers in real time to fill orders and make sure that the whole thing comes every time, or as close to every time as we can get it. And so that reliability is a big part of the reason why people stick around in their memberships with us.
You've been able to grow this nationwide and even into Canada and Australia.
That's right. Since Grandma started giving the number to her friend. Now, Grandma at the age of 85 was an extremely popular person in Torrance, which is in the South Bay of LA County. And so just from her network alone, she was part of 3 book clubs, 2 social clubs. We got to maybe hundreds of people using the service. But then since then, things have grown tremendously. We support tens of thousands of clients now in over 30,000 cities in the 3 countries that you mentioned, across multiple tiers of service. Started with rides, but moving into all of the instrumental activities of daily living. And it's just been amazing to see that word of mouth continue to grow.
Justin, so interesting, so excited to be working with you, and both the growth of services, really helping a lot of people age in place at home and thriving while they're there. So congratulations on what you're doing to help so many people.
Well, thank you for that. We are eager to continue that work. There's been a lot of stuff that we've been able to do with public-private partnerships. Not everyone is able to afford even a $14 local ride. And so we've been able to work with state governments. We've been able to work with county governments, city governments, to be able to help them run their paratransit options much more affordably, to help people get access to care, help them get to the things that matter to them, and keep people out of skilled nursing facilities. So it's been tremendous to see that program continue. And if anyone's listening that might represent an organization where we'd be able to help a larger swath of their members, we'd be happy to have that discussion.
And also, I'm sure your grandmother's very proud of you. I know I am.
Thank you. Yeah, no, her birthday, as I mentioned, is in March. I'm going to go and see her pretty soon, so I'm excited about catching up.
Well, congratulations. We appreciate GoGoGrandparent as well for helping to make this episode possible. You can learn more and register at getgogograndparent.com. We also appreciate our guests, Dr. Michael Roizen and Dr. Guy Fagarazzi. We are grateful to all of you for watching or listening. Remember, you can always find us at maryfurlong.com/podcast.